Welcome back. I am Nicole, the drama teacher behind Let's Get Dramatic, and today we're going to go over my sound design unit. I do work in an interactive notebook in my classroom, but I have not always been as privileged to be able to make this many copies and to have students bring their composition books and make an interactive notebook. I also have made digital interactive notebook pages that will be down below as I show you the page in the composition book. I will show you the picture of what it looks like digitally. I've made slides that they can move and manipulate the different pieces around on. Also, they can write text on them and take notes on the slides. So if you are in a digital classroom or only have computers for resources, just look down at the bottom of the screen and you'll be able to see how I work with that kind of resource. Whether you are just looking for ideas of how to structure a sound design unit, or if you are looking for a resource that you can purchase and use in your technical theater classes, you are in the right place. I really hope that showing this will help other drama teachers be able to figure out a good structure for their technical theater units. I love technical theater. It is one of my huge passions in life. And so that is what I took all of my college courses in. And I worked in theaters as a technician all through high school and college. Sound design is an interesting unit for me because once I got into teaching, I actually realized I did not know enough about sound. So the theater that I used to be an electrician for and used to do lighting design for allowed me to come back and let me work with the sound crew. And they helped teach me microphones and speaker placement and stuff like that, because I did not realize how much I did not know about sound until I started trying to teach it. So hopefully this will be a good place for you to start, whether you have had a lot of experience with theatrical sound or you are an English teacher trying to figure out how to make a theater program work for the benefit of the students, which kudos to you guys. I hope that this video will help you. So we're going to start with my theatrical sound introduction page. This is just a coloring page. It's black and white. I do not sell this individually on Teachers Pay Teachers. This is just a bonus page you get if you buy the entire sound design unit so that it kind of looks good as you go through your different pages. I like to have a cover page for all of my different designs that I do. I just kind of feel like it helps the kids remember what we're doing. But the other reason that I do this is because sometimes my students are in the middle of technical theater projects and there's other students that are just kind of sitting around twiddling their thumbs, not doing anything. So a lot of my pages have coloring options for them so that if there's nothing for them to do, they're supposed to be working on coloring and making their book look really nice. Once their unit looks nice and they have everything colored, then I give them a sticker for the beginning of their book. Some of my students, their composition books get covered with stickers front and back, depending on how many classes they take from me. And they really like being able to kind of show off how good their book looks and gives them that little extra design feature. So I have them work on this whenever they're waiting for their groups or their partners to do their thing. Now, I'm going to be going through this and letting you know what I teach on which day, and I'll talk to you about what my slides and videos include, because I feel like that is the best way for you to be able to figure out how you want to structure your unit. If you have questions about why I structured the unit the way I did, and why I taught these things in Tech 1 and not other things, feel free to ask me questions down below. I will try to get to all of the questions. If you want to let other teachers know how you do things, please also leave that in the comments down below. I'm trying to get a conversation started about how we teach sound or technical theater, and your comments mean the world. So I always start my theatrical units with an overview. So this will take them from the beginning of creating something and getting a script all the way through to the end. So the three groups I've chosen for theatrical sound to kind of amplify this is creation and imagination, physical setup, and show to strike. I don't go too much into strike with Tech 1 because my Tech 2 kids kind of do that, and then my Tech 1 kids follow behind them or get assigned a person. So oftentimes they will kind of learn the strike part by doing. But I do go into it a little bit. And so I list a general of everything that needs to happen in theatrical sound for the students. And then they write down the notes right here. And sometimes they'll take notes or little pictures right here of each of these things. So I have different notes highlighted and they'll write down the highlighted portion of that slide during the presentation. This is pretty much pre-production Tech Week, Show to Strike. So that's what I cover on day 1. And then day 2, we get into theatrical sound design, creating a sound profile. I talk about reading the script, then mapping out the emotions of the show. And we go into pitch and tempo and all of these different things that go into creating a sound profile. Now, this one is a little bit different. I have additional pages because creating a sound profile is kind of a hard thing for my students to grasp in the beginning. So this page right here, the one underneath it and the one behind it that I show you are actually just pages that we are going to give the students. They're not going to take notes on these. So these different pages are for them to be able to see the properties of sound and then the different emotions down here. And then they will be able to observe a bunch of songs and we'll create a sound profile for those different pieces. And then this is an example page that we do an activity with later. Examples of sound profiles based on emotion. So it has the emotions over here and then talks about the pitch, the tempo, the volume, and the tone, and what those different options are for creating fear and suspense or grief and sadness, all of these different things. And then I'll talk about the activity in just a moment. But right here, we have a little picture that they can color if they want to of different emotions. This usually doesn't get colored. It's kind of a lot, but it is black and white and you can see that they have all these emotions. And then we watch a video of a bunch of different appropriate music videos. And then we have the list of the songs right down here. They're going to write down the emotion of the song here and how they would create the sound profile. I tell them to feel free to skip back and forth. And sometimes this activity takes us 2 full days just to watch the video because the students are so into each song and I pause it in between and they flip back and forth through their pages, writing down their notes. And then we talk about the song right afterwards. If you're looking for something a little bit faster, you can always just do the entire activity and let them kind of figure out what they would write and then meet in groups and talk about it with the groups later. So this is listed in my Teachers Pay Teachers store as days 2 and 3, like it's a 2-day lesson. But in reality, if I want this to stretch to a 5-day lesson, it is incredibly easy for me to be able to do that because it is 1 day of me teaching the sound profiles and then 1 day of us watching the music videos. I can put this into 2 days easily. Sorry, I should have said this before, but my classes are 1 hour each. But there's an option activity that we have students in groups. They will research these specific emotions and why the sound profile works for these different emotions. And then they will present that to the class at the front of the class, which is a day of research and a day of presenting. Sometimes I will give them extra credit on this assignment if they find sounds that exemplify these different emotions through this profile, but that is just an optional activity. I usually do this type of a thing if we end up having a little bit more time. So that is creating a sound profile. Next, we have days 4 through 6, and let me get centered. There we go. So up here is my sound design highlights. We go over just a few different highlights of the timeline of sound design throughout the ages. We talk about Greek theater, we talk about Foley, and do a quick timeline. And I have that slideshow of that presentation of that. And then once we get up to Jack Foley creating modern Foley, we kind of dive into that section of it. So I have these different pockets that we make. And for this worksheet, it's actually an activity that creates the pockets on a separate piece of paper too. So we have Foley sound effects and iconic sound effects. They'll take these cards out and then they would write the notes on the back of the cards for these ones. So this kind of talks about how they created the sound of a velociraptor, Spartacus's armor, lightsabers, and the different things they used to create those. And then over here, we talk about live Foley, and they also write the notes on the back of those cards. So this is a really fun activity where we go through it, and then I give them time to actually color these ones, and I feel like it kind of gets them in their head. While they're coloring these, I will have them talk about different things that they could do to create different sound effects just in small groups. I'll assign them a small group and just have them talk about that. And when I come around, they tell me what they would do to create different sound effects. So that's kind of fun. And then the other thing that I do on this lesson, and this is not something they take notes on because it's something they actually do, is they're going to use Canva to find sound effects for this radio drama script. So there are many times I use this radio drama script throughout the entire lesson. Each of my units has an individual script that we kind of use to reflect on and do our practice runs for. So for sound effects, I chose a radio drama and I shortened it a bunch. So it is just a 3 or 4 person old time radio drama, depending if you combine the woman to be the same voice. So they would read this script and find the sound effects that they would create for this script, and then they put that on a design in Canva. So teachers, what I do with this that I absolutely love, and I do it every first term. The second term, we just do not have time with the musical that we do. But for the first term, my drama students that are in my Drama 1 class, they voice this radio drama. And they have small groups that they voice these in. And then I send that to the techies, and the techies add the sound effects in to the radio dramas. And then both of the classes listen to them during their class periods and hear what the other people did to create the sound effects and the drama and the music and all of that stuff. After that, I do share them with a private link to the parents only, not paid, just so that they can see the work that we're doing in class. The students and parents love this activity. There have been a few times that my plays have kind of run over time, the unit before this one. And so there's times that these techies have collected the sound effects and I actually share them with the actors, and the actors use them as a live effect while they're recording this, and then we do the same thing. But that's my favorite way of doing this. You could also have the techies voice these characters and create full radio dramas, whatever works in your classroom. So this is my days 4, 5, and 6, so only 3 days. That is not a lot of time to be able to do all of this. That is the main reason I try to have my drama students already have their scripts recorded to send to the techies, because once they have the script, it only really takes us 2 days to add the sound effects in. Sometimes a lot of my lessons run overtime because they are working so hard and I just want them to enjoy the learning process and have really good products. So just take that into consideration for this activity. And then the students have already read the radio drama. So my next lesson includes that radio drama and only has 4 days. So this is my unit of the mystery of sound. We talk about sound waves here and the different parts of the sound wave so that they know how to manipulate it when they finally do get to the board over here. We do the sound wave up here. We also do this microphone breakdown. It is the parts of a handheld microphone. They label the different parts right in here. And then they can color this if they want. And then the slideshow or video I record of the slideshow, depending on if they're at home because they're sick or in my classroom, will give them all of this information. I did used to try to have them write down this information and not just the title, but it took us so long to write down the important information from this that it felt like it was just wasting our time a little bit. So that is what we work on the first day. And then we talk about Twisted Wave. I don't know if you have used Twisted Wave before, but it is just a voice recorder that really allows you to kind of twist the waves of your audio. This is a free voice editor. It is twistedwave.com/online. Not all the versions of this are free. They do have paid versions of this, but the online version allows us to record some parts. It's up to, I think, an hour of recording with 5-minute sections each of audio, and be able to kind of twist it up and mesh it and play with the sound waves. So we create an account. I have a video that does explain how to do this. If you buy the lesson, that video is included that walks the students through this whole process. In fact, I show them how to do all of these things. I made the video for this lesson, so it's really me teaching the lesson. And then they practice fading in, fading out, they denoise, and then they do these different reverse, polarity, and silence, so they can really see the sound waves that we talked about previously in the assignment on the computer. So this is their checklist of all the different things that we want them to do. And then there is this special effects down here that they do these different special effects. They listen to it and then they write down, what did you think that effect did to the sound? Did it make it higher, lower? Did it add speed? What do you think it did? So that's kind of fun. And then kids that have a little extra time will do the entire list of these special effects and kind of see what they all do. That takes us usually a day and a half. And then the second part, they are going to record a radio drama commercial that would work for our script right here. I have had times where I've had them record an audio and change their audio to sound like The Wizard of Oz and things like that. I do that in Tech 2 now. It's a really fun activity, but I do it in Tech 2. Tech 1, we are recording our own old time style radio commercials that I have them write the commercial down. Usually I have them do this in groups, but sometimes I have students that prefer to do it individually. And I have them do about 30 seconds to a minute, depending if it's 1 or 2 people in the group. So that is how I do this assignment. And that takes us through those 4 days. And then right here, we have our sound system set up. I do this on days 11 and 12. This presentation takes me 2 days alone. So we talk about the sound system setup from inputs, different types of inputs, what we would use the different types of inputs for, the board, and then outputs and different speakers and monitors and how we would use this information. And then this lesson also continues to the next day where we have our little picture of a board right here. And then on the page, we go through each of the knobs, faders, and buttons does, and where you plug things in, where you plug things out. And so my slideshow kind of goes through every single one of these and talks about the problems that could arise in these different setups and why we choose to do what we do. This part usually takes me 2/3 of one day, so about 40 minutes-ish. And then this is the last half of that day and on to the second day. Quick thing that is not in my book that I do is I have a small board in my classroom. It's just a 4-channel board that was donated to my classroom. I use this for my students for an assessment. I mess up all the different things. I click buttons, I turn things up and down, I unplug everything. And then I have a speaker, a microphone, and my small board. And then in groups, they go and they fix the board and make sound come out of the speaker. And that is one of their assessments. This is one of those activities that I was talking about that I have the other students kind of coloring these pages while we are doing this assignment, because it does take a little bit more time. And when they're doing it in groups, it means that we've got about a day that they're just kind of waiting to take the assessment and look at this different stuff. At the end of this lesson, on my slides, I do have a few like, oh, this is a problem that sometimes arises. What area did we talk about that in? So you're not getting any sound out of your speakers, but it's coming into your channel, but you're not getting any lights on the meters. And then we talk about possibly the faders down, maybe the mute buttons push, things like that, just as a quick kind of precursor to what we're going to be doing later on in the unit. And then we talk about body mics. I was tempted to put my body mics lesson right here after microphones and twisted wave, but I kind of wanted them to mess with the sound waves for this lesson so that I could talk about the sound waves traveling through the sound system when it gets turned into a digital sound, how it gets turned back into sound waves. So I kind of wanted them to have that visual, but I wanted them to learn about the board before I had them learn about the body mic, just because I thought it would make a lot more sense if they understood the board. Then I could kind of reference what the body mic is doing and how we get the signal from our body mic into the board. Obviously, feel free to change up any order that you see that you would think would be better for you. This is just what I do. So after we talk about the board, we go into lavaliers. We talk about care for a lavalier and the different parts of the lavalier, what you want to change first. And then we talk about omnidirectional mics, directional mics, the different types of mics that we use in theater a lot of times. And then from there, we go into a mic plot, which is the other reason I wanted this to come after the soundboard. So this is the third lesson that we use this script for. I give them an assignment to write down the characters in the script. They only have 3 microphones, and then they have to figure out a mic plot for those microphones. So here's an example mic plot up here for them, and then they take notes right here and create their own microphone plot right here. They usually have to grab out the script and they're kind of going through it individually and writing down what goes where. So I really like this activity. It's 2 days long, so that's my days 13 and 14. And then if you purchase this, there's something that I've also included that helps me, and hopefully it would help you. I have included a full mic plot with 10 spaces for mics. You can always print out 2 if you have more than 10 mics. My school, we only have 10 mics. And then the different scene names coming down here. This is technically my Tech 2 worksheet, but I give it to the Tech 1 students when we're doing class plays. If they're going to be running the mics, I kind of want them to see this. I included that in this lesson plan, just in case you didn't want to use the script that I was doing and you were doing class plays. My second term, when we're doing our class plays, is when we're teaching mic plot. So I just thought I would include both of those. Then last, but possibly the most important, solving sound problems. This is a pocket so that they can kind of store their different pages in here. Oh, there we go. I also use this pocket for putting a page of how our soundboard works in it and the specific things for our soundboard. So this is a general problem solving soundboard activity, but each of us has different boards at our school. Right now, my school has an iPad that we have to scroll back and forth to be able to change our channels. So we're dealing with that. I have a paper that I print off for our soundboard that we're using of the different problems we face that aren't common problems that everyone faces. And also the how to turn it on, right, and our specific microphones and things. So I've made this into a pocket for that. You can always just glue it onto your book if you don't need a pocket. So I have these 3 different problems right here. And then I have this diagram at the top kind of showing that if you're standing at the board, what if this problem is coming from the input? How can you tell? And then how do you fix it? If this is showing that we're already getting a strong input, then here are the different problems with the output to check, starting from the board and then going all the way to the speakers so that they're going in order of what's further away and what's a harder fix. And then feedback, and some of the speakers aren't working and some of them are. I also have this pocket that I have for a sound pocket that you could easily put into your interactive notebook if you are doing that to hold your soundboard information and all of that stuff. I decided to change this into that because I was already taking 15 days and a bunch of pages. 11 pages of interactive notebook activities here, plus the 12th page that I use. I want to be able to write a review on of how did you like sound design? What were your strengths? What were your weaknesses? Would you want to try this again in Tech 2? Why or why not? Just quick overview of things. So I always keep a page blank at the end of each of my units for that purpose of a reflection. But if you had more space in your interactive notebook, you could always pop that right here. Totally will work great. I'm just running out of pages with all of the stuff that I am doing. I do have half of my book be technical theater and half of it be drama because I have a lot of students that take both. And so I've just decided they need one interactive notebook for all of my drama stuff. But that means that I have limited all of my units to be between 12 and 14 pages. Anyway, that is my sound design unit. I hope that helps you figure out how you want to teach your sound design unit. If you're wanting to save some time, because we all know that we need that, I do sell these lessons as individual lessons or units on Teachers Pay Teachers, whether you're just looking for a quick activity or an entire unit. Anyways, I hope that little rundown helps you decide if that's something that would be beneficial to you or not. Either way, I really hope this helped you. I, of course, will put the links down below for my interactive notebook lessons and the unit. And because of requests, I have started making all of my units in worksheet format instead of just interactive notebook format. So if that's not something you do, just check out the link for worksheets down below. And then those that are interested in interactive notebooks, go ahead and go to that link. Thank you so much for your support. Bye.